front of us, please. And showing, and we're going to have some pictures taken. The Republican Party stands together. We stand as one. And we want to make that clear to everyone. All right, everybody smile. Be happy to be here. All right. Are we about? I still see cameras going. Okay. Thank you. Candidates, have a seat. Central Executive Committee is who sponsored this. These people worked hard. Skip Luttrell put it together. He had to step out. He will be coming back. We appreciate you also coming. Does anyone else have any cards for questions? No more cards? All right, these are the cards that were submitted when you walked in the door if you had a question for any politicians. We can't guarantee that they will all be read. However, I'm going to submit them to the panel and they will read through. They have questions of their own that they will be asking, and then they will resort to these. Again, thank you for coming. Robert, your turn.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. My name is Bob Wiley. I am the Vice Chair for the Carroll County Republican Central Executive Committee. Quick couple notes of housekeeping. Exits are marked. As you can see, we also have restrooms off to the side there. And as far as it goes to cell phones, if everybody would please be mindful and try to silence their phones so that not to cause any interruptions during the speech. If you would, please.
Just to confirm, if you will please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, please bless all of us in attendance here tonight. Protect us from evil and give us your grace to find, through Jesus Christ, the path of salvation. For it is through the acceptance of the teachings of Jesus Christ that we will flourish and lead good lives. Lord, give me the capacity to keep an open mind and reject false promises and deceit. As stated in Matthew 24:11, and many false prophets will arise and lead many astray. Please give us the ability to ascertain or determine veracity and character. Let us listen to these candidates and all candidates and hear their vision and plans that will impact and better lives in our country and in particular Carroll County. And let us always remember the words of John 8:32. Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. For it is in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
If you please stand for the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
This evening we have several candidates for various offices, and I'd like to acknowledge them now. For U.S. Senate, we have our Secretary of State, Mr. Frank Rose. We do have Ohio Senator Matt Dolan.
He's on his way over now.
Right,
So
okay.
he'll be over soon.
Very good. And we also have Mr. Bernie Marino, who will be represented by Mr. Colton Henson from the campaign. For U.S. House of Representatives, 6th District, we have Ohio Representative Reggie Stolfus, Ohio Senator Michael Rulli, and Dr. Rick Chai. For 7th District Court of Appeals, we have former Justice Mary DeGennaro and Caitlin Dickey. For the Ohio GOP Central Committee, we have Allison Zwicker, Dave Johnson, and Roberta Bacon. Are there any unopposed candidates that wish to be acknowledged? Very good. Good deal. This evening's moderator is Attorney Stephen Candle. He is an attorney at law for over 17 years with experience. Currently serves in the Carroll County Public Defender's Office and also maintains a private practice. For our board, we have Mr. George Miser. He is president of Lumber Services Incorporated for Carrollton, Ohio. He's also a former chair of the Carroll County Republican Central Executive Committee. We have Rachel Wagner, who is the editor of the Farm and Dairy newspaper out of Salem. And Carol McIntyre, who is the owner-editor of the Ohio Carroll County Messenger out of Carroll. With that being said, I would like to turn the floor to our moderator. And carry on, sir.
Okay, I will read you here the rules. We've got little time, so we got to run a tight ship, but each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening statement. We strongly urge the candidates to use time to focus on their achievements with emphasis on current and pending issues facing our district. If elected, explain how you would address those issues to the betterment of our communities. Each candidate will be asked at least one question throughout the event and a follow-up question if the panelists that asks the question so chooses. Each candidate will have 90 seconds to respond to the following follow-up questions if asked. Candidates may be asked to the same question or may be asked different questions at the discretion of the panelists. Each will be given equal time. Candidates have been given the opportunity to submit up to 6 separate questions in advance to the panel directed to whomever they wish. The panel is obligated to choose randomly at least 2 of those questions submitted. And with that, would you like me to turn it over, Bob, for the opening? Okay. So we'll start to my right and give you the 2-minute opening, and Judge DeGennaro.
What, we have numbers.
I'm sorry, go by the cards.
Show us your cards.
Assume there's a 1.
King of Spades? That'd be me. There you go. Right?
Yeah, sure.
Hey, so you ready? We good? So, thank you for having me. My name is Dr. Rick Chai. So, my father came here from China just before Mao took over. He came here on a college visa. And my father's father was a senator in China. And when Mao took over, his entire family was imprisoned. And my father never saw his father again. He mysteriously disappeared. So my father loved the Chinese people, but he despised the Chinese government. And he always instilled into me how important American freedom is. So I'm a 30-year resident of East Palestine, Ohio. And I built one of the largest chiropractic practices in the United States. For a year now, I have, however, put that practice on hold. For a year, I have documented the lies and the corruption in East Palestine. I have exposed the chemicals, and I have fought local, state, and federal corruption, and I will do that for you, District 6. I've done pretty well in life. I don't need money, and I don't need friends. My wife is my best friend, and I have a few friends that have been with me for a lifetime. So we were able to raise over $70,000 for East Palestine residents, and we are the only charity that went directly to the residents. However, at that same time, there was a crime. Say?
30 seconds.
Oh, however, at that time, there was a crime perpetrated on the East Palestine people. There was also a fake scam charity that was raised. It raised over $130,000, and that was raised by my opponent's friend and his legislative advisor, Michael Ruley. And we still wonder in East Palestine why that man is not in jail. If you want to get rid of corruption in your town, I fought the EPA, I fought the CDC.
Time.
I'll take my shovel and I'll come to your town and I will root out the rats.
Next card.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming out this evening, giving me the opportunity to introduce myself. myself. My name is Allison Zwicker. I'm running to retain my seat as Ohio Republican State Central Committee woman. I currently serve on this great committee alongside David Johnson, my friend and mentor of many years. I'm the proud mother of 2 wonderful adult children. One lives in Florida, the other in Ohio. I was born and raised in Mahoning County. I've had the extreme fortune to grow up in this great state. I attended YSU and I graduated with a business degree and worked in business for 30 years before I retired. A long life resident of Mahoning County, I've watched our county go from blue to red. A strong supporter of Donald Trump in 2016, 2020, and now 2024. I also volunteered to support the candidates in the local Republican Party. One of the things I'm most proud of, though, is serving on State Central Committee. People ask what this committee does, and here are just a couple of things. The State Central Committee develops and oversees the party policy and operations, such as fundraising and other campaign activities. They provide the infrastructure needed to support Republican candidates. They create a party platform to define what the party stands for, and then they educate the public on these platform issues and Republican candidates. As a member of the committee, I've worked closely with our new state chairman, Alex Triantafillo. I voted to endorse Donald Trump for president and also voted with the party to support their pro-life positions on issues 1 and also against issue 2. I am president of the Mahoning Valley Republican Women's Club. It's the largest club of its kind in Ohio. The club encourages Republican women leadership and influence, while our club PAC supports endorsed state and local candidates. I would appreciate your vote on March 19th.
Well, hey, good evening, everybody. My name is Frank LaRose. I currently serve as your Secretary of State, and I'm running for the United States Senate. I want to start by thanking all of you for taking the time to be here. I love that vision of unity at the beginning. We started off showing that we are a united party, and I can tell you that any one of these folks that's standing up here is better than any of the Democrats that are running, and so it's important that we be united as Republicans, right? And then we invoked the name of the Lord, and then we said the Pledge of Allegiance. These are how we as Republicans start our meetings. I want to thank Lucinda Oyer, who is our county captain. We've got a great 88 county organization, including right here in Carroll County. Why am I running? To be very honest and very succinct, we have a nation to save. It's not exaggeration at this point to say that America is in jeopardy. I took an oath when I was 18. When I enlisted in the United States Army, I made a promise that this country is so precious that it's worth dying for. Well, it is that precious, and I believe that it's also worth living for. But if we don't act soon, we'll be the first generation in American history to leave this country weaker, poorer, and less secure. I am very focused on a few key issues. First of all, this economy. Under Biden and Brown, it's hurting our families, and the solutions that the left offers aren't real solutions. They want to hire 80,000 IRS agents and spend trillions of dollars on green energy mandates that we can't afford. We know how to grow an economy. It's the free market. It's cutting taxes, streamlining regulations, doing energy exploration for oil and gas right here in Ohio. The next issue that I'm focused on is the U.S.-Mexican border. A lot of candidates talk about this. I actually served down there as part of a counter-narcotics task force. We must secure our border. I just called on the military to deploy 3 divisions to the border so we can end this invasion and there will be no amnesty. Finally, parents' rights. Lauren and I are raising 3 children. We are not interested in co-parenting with the government. We want our children to be educated and not indoctrinated, and so I will fight for parents' rights. My name is Frank LaRose. I'm an Army Green Beret. I'm asking for your vote. I'm asking for your prayers to serve in the United States Senate. God bless you.
Good evening. My name is Dave Johnson. I hail from Salem, Ohio, in Columbiana County. I've been the Columbiana County Republican chairman now for a little over 30 years. I was elected in 1989. When I first was elected to Columbiana County's chairman, we had 3 Republican county offices. I'm proud of the fact that today we have every Republican office in Columbiana County. My interest in politics extended beyond just Columbiana County, and about 28 years ago I was first elected to the Republican State Central Committee. Tell you a little bit about that body. That is a 66-member body. There are 33 men and 33 women. As Allison stated, it's really the governing body of the state party. We elect the state chairman. We put together the fundraising for statewide offices and for including the caucus, both in the House and the Senate in Ohio. We play an active role in electing Supreme Court candidates. I'm proud of the fact that I have served for 20 years as chairman of the Ohio Supreme Court Screening Committee in my capacity as a member of the state committee. I also serve on the endorsement committee and on the slate, or on the new platform committee. Thank you. So I've been about as active and as involved in campaigns as you could get. Over my tenure, I have raised millions of dollars for the local, state, and national candidates in this area. I also am a small businessman. I'm the CEO of Summitville Tiles, which is a taxpayer here in Carroll County. We have a factory in Minerva, Ohio, and a small laboratory outside of Minerva. We've been in business for over 100 years, and frankly, one of the reasons I got involved in politics to begin with is to create a climate where small businesses can thrive. Thank you very much for your time.
Next, is me.
I'm Mike Rowley. I am the senator of the 33rd District. I am a father. I am a son. I am a butcher. I am a senator. I am a Trump delegate. I was the first person in the state of Ohio to support Trump. I have a CPAC conservative rating of 87%. I vote conservative. If you look at my Twitter for the last 6 years, you'll see where my political beliefs are. I'm very proud of the work that I've done. I go on my accomplishments. I have 5 bills that are signed into law. There's a lot of work that's involved in that. My 2 main concerns to represent the Ohio 6, and in particular Carroll County, is natural gas and closing down the borders. We have to close down these borders no matter what, even if it means special operations like Frank LaRose was in, going into Mexico and killing every cartel member. Because if we don't do that, the fentanyl is going to destroy our youth. That is the top priority. The second priority is natural gas. I am lucky enough that I've been around the natural gas industry for 25 years. The Utica Marcellus Shale produces enough natural gas to supply the earth for 800 years. We have to get the obstacles, the snags, the regulations that are preventing the culture of natural gas from flourishing here. I've worked with Chesapeake back in the day, Hillcorp, and I'm working with Encino now. And if there's any zoning commissioner or anyone that's gonna get in the way of natural gas, that needs to be stopped. When you do that and you create jobs, you create hope and a future for our kids. The whole goal is that we work for our kids. 30 seconds. I have been fortunate enough that I spent most of my life in the private sector working for my family's 100-year-old grocery store. And I feel a God-given drive inside to give back to the people that have given me so much. I wish you all God's blessings, and thank you so much.
This is a little bit of a reversal role for me. I usually, in the background, I'm serve as the political director for Bernie Moreno, and have had the honor of working with him for about a year. Bernie's not a politician. He's a business guy. He's a immigrant to our country from South America, and his understanding of issues is not from the political realm; it's from the business realm, and how he came to this country. He's a great guy. Built a great business in Cleveland. Frankly, I look at him and say, "Why are you doing this to yourself? Why are you putting your life in that blender?" Because we don't know how politics can get, and I'm sure we'll see some of it this evening. But I think he's doing it for the right reasons. He's doing it the reasons that told Donald Trump that he should get involved in politics, or the reason that J.D. Vance got involved in politics, or the reason Jim Jordan fights for us every day. That's why it's pretty great to have all 3 of those people that have endorsed Bernie Moreno. So I think that, in this race, we got to get serious about beating Sherrod Brown, and we think that the best opportunity to do that is by nominating Bernie Moreno. He's not able to be here tonight. He's been to all 88 counties a number of times. He wishes he could be here, but unfortunately, it takes one thing to beat Sherrod Brown. That's going to be a lot of money. So he's raising some funds for this campaign. if you approach me afterwards, I don't think I'm going to participate in the back and forth with the questions, but I'll give you a cell phone number. He's one of the most accessible candidates that I've worked with. So I'll hang out around, but I'm glad to work with Bernie Moreno, and it's been fun to get to know him and his family. Thanks.
Well, good evening. My name is Reggie Stolzfus. I live just north of here, about 15 minutes, just north of Minerva. I live on a small farm, raise beef cattle. My kids do 4-H. I've been married to my wife, Jeanette, for 21 years. We have 4 children, ages 20 down to 10. My wife and I started a small business in 2005, and we manufacture wood roof trusses. We started our business in our detached garage with no more than 2 nickels to rub together. And by God's grace, we have grown our business to a mid-sized company that employs about 40 people. I'm a man of faith, first and foremost, faith, family, and freedom, in that order. I was a township trustee for a number of years. I was elected to the state legislature 6 years ago, and that's been a great job. I've done a lot of good things there, protect parent rights, expand Second Amendment, protect the unborn. Very important to me is protect the unborn. So as your next congressman, what am I going to do? There's a couple things. We got to work on the economy. We are $34 trillion in debt, folks. $34 trillion in debt. We've got to stop raising the debt ceiling. We've got to rein in our spending. Our mandatory spending's got to be lowered. We've got to get oil and gas out of the ground. We've got to stop pushing electric vehicles down everybody's throats and trying to subsidize charging stations across Ohio. We've got to focus on oil and gas in this region. The border, it's a massive hole. If you've seen the Supreme Court decision just recently, the Biden administration is not doing us any favors. They want them to come across the border. I want them to come across legally. We've got to stop illegal immigration. And finally, friends, thank you for having me tonight. Thank you for putting this on, Patty and your team, and I humbly ask for your support.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Mary DeGennaro. I currently serve as Chief Legal Counsel for one of the most conservative state auditors we have had in the state of Ohio, Keith Faber. And it is my pleasure to be with you tonight. This is democracy at its best. With your help, I became the first Republican back in 2000 to be elected to the 7th District Court of Appeals, the first Republican in 24 years. Again, with your help, I was reelected twice, and we kept at least 1 seat on that court in Republican hands. I was the only Republican on that court for 14 years. As you all know, I had the honor of serving you on the Ohio Supreme Court, and I served you on the 7th District for almost 17 years, so that is a combined almost 18 years of appellate judging experience. This is a critical time for the 7th District Court of Appeals. We are losing decades of judicial experience. That is why we need to send somebody back to the court who can lead the next generation of judges. Now, in my tenure on the 7th District, I sat on over 4,000 appeals. I wrote over 1,100 opinions. 130 of them were selected for publication because of their significance. Let me tell you about my judicial philosophy. It will come to no surprise to anyone as a 10-year member of the Federalist Society. My judicial philosophy tracks some of the great justices like Antonin Scalia. Whenever I was interpreting a statute, I applied the law as the members of the General Assembly adopted it. Whenever your constitutional rights were before me, your right to parent your children and educate your children as you choose to decide, your freedom of speech, your freedom of religion, our right to bear and keep arms. I was there protecting those rights because I applied the Constitution as our founders originally adopted it. These are serious times for serious people. We have seen a precious foundational principle, the rule of law, being converted into lawfare. That's why I need your help to return to the 7th District Court of Appeals. Thank you.
I was number 6, but I didn't jump up quick enough. Thank you for this opportunity to introduce myself. I'm Roberta Baker. I'm a resident of St. Clair Township in Columbiana County. I've lived there in the same home for 31 years. I've been a small business owner for 18 years. And this contributes to my passion to ensure that our nation keeps the liberty and the freedoms that we have right now. I voted Republican in every election since I voted for Ronald Reagan in 1984. I'm a woman of faith. I am ardently pro-life, pro-gun, pro-liberty, and pro-medical freedom. I am and have always been a small government conservative. I think the smaller our government is, the more local our government is, the better off all of us will be. I campaigned for a lot of Republican candidates. Last year, I knocked on over 3,000 doors and got 3 candidates elected to the Ohio Senate and as representatives. I seek a seat on the Republican State Central Committee because I would like to see the party grow. I would like to see it filled with young people. I feel that our young people are apathetic right now about politics, and a lot of that is because they don't feel that they have a place at the table. I think a lot of conservative voters feel disenfranchised and shut out of the party. I think it's exemplified by the fact that in Columbiana County alone, we have 3 times more registered independents than registered Republicans. And yet, they often vote conservative. And I'd like to find out why that is, and I'd like to bring those people into the party. I think that party endorsements hinder the entire process of people getting involved and running for office. Primaries draw new citizen candidates, and with new candidates come new vision and new ideas. I think primary endorsements impede that process. It is very hard in Columbiana County to run for office if you don't get permission. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Caitlin Dickey. I'm currently a judge at the Columbiana County Municipal Court. I'm running for the 7th District Court of Appeals. I was born and raised in Columbiana County. I've lived and worked there my whole life. My husband Ben and I are raising our 4 kids on our small farm. And in all fairness, our small farm is farmed by our neighbors, farming crops. My kids and I are still trying to convince my husband to get the longhorn cattle and some cute fluffy mini cows. We're not quite there yet. Before I was a judge, I was a prosecutor, a magistrate in the Court of Common Pleas, and also served time as a probation officer. After being elected to the bench, I can say that I've served at nearly every level of the judicial system. With that experience, I know the importance of having an energetic conservative judge on the Court of Appeals. All of you who have paid attention to how courts have been ruling across the country on different cases know the importance to have a judge that will follow the law as it is written, not make up the law from the bench. I am proud to tell you that I have the support and endorsement from the Republican Party and the sheriff in my home county, as well as your sheriff, Calvin Graham. On the 7th District Court of Appeals, there are some things that I think can be improved. Courts, like all government, should view citizens as customers and strive to give the best service possible. I look forward to increased efficiency both in cases and how people deal with the court. I look forward to spurring changes in technology with the court's website as well as case access. It is vital to get youth interested in the judicial system and how it affects our communities. In the Carroll County Republican newsletter that I received just the beginning of this month, it highlighted 4 goals that your party has for 2024. One of those 4 goals is to encourage more county residents to become active either within the committee or within the Republican Party, and then it emphasizes especially younger Republicans. I'm here to tell you that I'm the new generation of Republican leaders. It's important to have youth involved in the Republican Party as well as an elected official. I'm passionate about our future, and I can be a conservative judge on the bench for the next 20 plus years.
So candidate Dolan is minutes away apparently. So what we'll do is we will start our questions. Remember, these are 90-second answers. I'm going to turn it over to the panelists, but if we interrupt for candidate Dolan's introduction, we'll do that as soon as he gets here. And that being said, I guess we'll.
I have a question for Mr. Ruley.
Stand and speak. All right. So again, Mr. Wagner, Armendary. You said natural gas is important to you, and the oil and gas industry has obviously changed this region, particularly Carroll County. I know that I've heard from many of our readers, particularly in Carroll County, that they at the same time feel that they've been taken advantage of by oil and gas companies. So how can we balance the economic development brought by the industry with consumer protection?
Well, I think a lot of the bad taste that's left in a lot of our landowners, and I'm one of those, I have 100 acres in Salem, Ohio, is that when Chesapeake came and Chesapeake left, a lot of open and empty promises were made by that company. And I think it's hard to get past that. I think Hillcorp and Encino have done a lot of work to try to get there. I think the Biden administration is 100% responsible for the culture that has destroyed we were on our way to completely eliminating the Middle East. And the Middle East needs to be eliminated, because when we do that, the wars go away. This needs to be the cradle of the natural gas explosion. So when we do that, we have to make sure that all these rules and regulations are pulled back, that the homeowners are very satisfied with these leases, that we have to scrutinize the lease, make sure it's up to snuff, that there's not hidden language that's gonna have a get you moment with the landowner. We don't wanna see that. We wanna make sure that these are clean leases and that the people can actually thrive on that lease. And that not only that, but that company actually delivers the lease. And also, we're gonna have to at some point address the solar panel problem that a lot of the farmers and the landowners are concerned about right now.
Okay, Dr. Chang, from a legislative standpoint, what can be done to make sure nothing like the train derailment and chemical spill in East Palestine happens in another small town?
So, I will answer questions right from the heart. I'm not gonna beat around the bush. I don't know if Republicans are for what Senator Vance is fighting for with the new train laws, and that's one of the first things I would help push as soon as I get elected. But also, I am a drill baby drill candidate, but I'm gonna add provisions in there that it's a cost of doing business. If you ruin somebody's well or you ruin somebody's water, we have something called no-fault insurance in Ohio. Being a physician, I know about this. Used to be if you got into a wreck and you hit two cars together, the victims would have to wait for the insurance companies to fight it out before there was any payment for medical bills or to compensate the victims of the car accident. Now it's no fault, your insurance company pays, their insurance company pays, and the insurance companies fight it out. Well, I propose that when people are hurt from drilling or trains or whatever it may be, that the government, they pay, and then they go after the company. And the company is going to reimburse the government. And if they don't, if just as they were trying to do with the cleanup, charging those companies 3 times the amount, if they do not comply, we're gonna hit them hard with even stiffer fines and penalties. And lastly, I'm not into this trade secret thing where they are putting unknown chemicals into our ground. I'm gonna propose a law that we find out what chemicals those people are dealing with. And I am pro fracking, but I want to know, and all the people here should know, what those chemicals are that are going into our ground. And why shouldn't we? So, that's it.
Mr. Stoltz. I'll pose you the same question about the oil and gas industry, and I'll reread it just so we're all clear. Oil and gas has been big in the region. How do we balance economic development with consumer protection?
So we've got to get oil and gas out of the ground. We need to do that. I've leased land as well, and we've got to be very thorough on the leases, make sure people that are signing leases understand what they're signing, make sure they're protected, make sure that the oil companies are being honest with them, make sure that the investors, on the flip side, the investors of the oil companies have a stable environment to when they make these investments, that they can count on, not the rug not being pulled out from under them as well. So there is a balance there. The economic development portion of this is huge, because when we look at energy, manufacturers want energy. They want a stable energy source. Manufacturers have left Ohio because we don't have a stable energy source. So if we can make Ohio energy independent, make the United States energy independent like it was when Donald Trump was president, manufacturers will come back to Ohio. Manufacturers will have great jobs, have better communities, better schools, better way of life for all of us. So again, very important to get the oil and gas out of the ground, important to protect the consumer as well. Thank you.
Okay, we have a whole assortment of questions here, so we're just gonna kind of go through them, okay?
Speak up a little bit so people in the back
Oh,
can hear.
sure.
please.
We have a large amount of questions here, so we're just gonna go through some of those. These were submitted by the people that are attending tonight. This one I'm going to presume is gonna go to our, state senators. What are some examples in your legislative career of you advancing the pro-life cause? So that would be Frank LaRose, Bernie, and Matt.
I'm proven when it comes to fighting for life. This is not something that is optional. In fact, I think you all have seen me run into battle to fight for life. In fact, I'm the only candidate in this three-way Republican primary that has a 100% pro-life voting record. I was proud to be the sponsor of bills over the time I was in the legislature. One was to help defund Planned Parenthood, take the money away from this leftist organization. We supported the heartbeat bill, in fact voted to override the governor's veto of the heartbeat bill. I think you all saw me take on this fight head on last year when a bunch of out-of-state special interests, including we've now found a Swiss billionaire, were funding an effort here in Ohio to try to put, and successfully did put, a radical constitutional amendment into our Constitution that legalizes abortion all the way up to the end of pregnancy and even takes away the parental involvement of a parent and would allow a minor child to be sent off to a Planned Parenthood facility for an abortion. That to me is absolutely abhorrent. We need to stand up for our values, and this means also fighting against taxpayer-funded abortions. There's a thing at the federal level called the Hyde Amendment. It's a sacrosanct principle that tax dollars should never go to allowing abortions, but the Biden administration is finding ways to do that, including through the military. We need to fight that, and we need to make sure that tax dollars are not used for abortions. We as conservatives also need to be really smart and compassionate about how we talk about this issue too, because we need to change hearts and minds. The fact is, a woman that's dealing with an unplanned pregnancy is facing a crisis in her life, and it's not good enough for us to just be pro-birth. We have to truly be pro-life, and that means supporting a woman that makes a courageous decision to be a single mother maybe, or to carry a child to term so that that child compassionately can be given up for adoption. That adoption process needs to be less bureaucratic and costly. We need to take the cost out of that to make sure that it's easy for people to make the right choice.
Excuse me, this is Matt Dolan.
Hello, everybody. Sorry I'm late.
Have a seat. Todd.
Candidate Dolan, we gave everybody 2 minutes to introduce themselves and lay out their platform, so we'll give you the same courtesy.
Okay.
And then we're in panel discussion or questions, but go ahead.
Okay, well, thank you guys, appreciate it. Thanks, Frank. All right, so, yeah, so I just left committee, got in my car, came right here. So tomorrow, we're gonna overturn the governor in House Bill 68, so we had to All right, so I'm running for the U.S. Senate because I want to continue to do what I've been doing every day, and that's figure out how to make your lives better. Because we know Sherrod Brown makes our lives weaker and we're more vulnerable. You know it, you feel it when you go to the grocery store, you pump your gas, you turn your nightly news on. That's what this race is about, is making sure Sherrod Brown gets retired. And I'm the one that can do it, and hopefully we'll go through questions because I have the conservative agenda that appeals to all Ohioans. I come from the area of the state that I can go right after Sherrod Brown's votes. Look, I want at the end of the day, this to be about you knowing that the American dream is alive and well in this country, and you know it for your kids and your grandkids. Look, I'm a product of the American dream. We don't have a whole time to go through it, but I can tell you I'm a product of a U.S. Marine and a Catholic nun. So if we had more time, I could explain how that worked out. But I can assure you, I got 5 brothers and sisters, and we grew up in a house full of faith, hard work, and sense of community. And it's those three principles that I brought into my career. Whether in my time where conservative presidents and speakers have put me in charge of the finance and the budget, where we have lowered your taxes, reduced your,
36 remaining.
okay, where we lowered your taxes, reduced your regulations, helped small businesses, gave parents a choice of where and how we're going to educate your kids, because we cannot let public schools and the woke agendas that's occurring in there. We want to return the power back to you. And finally, when the bureaucrats in the Department of Education weren't listening to us, we took the power away from them. That's not just talk, it's what we can get done in Washington. Thank you.
Mr. Dolan, while you're up, this question was for the three running for Senate. What are some examples in your legislative career of you advancing the pro-life cause?
Okay, thank you. So I don't know how long we have for these answers.
These are 90 seconds.
Okay, so I'm very proud of my pro-life record. In my time in the legislature, abortion's gone down 37% because the things I have voted on actually became law and they got into place and we reduced abortions. But it's more than that. We have, my budgets have provided pregnancy crisis centers throughout the state, record amount of funding. And in this last budget, we completely rehauled our adoption process here in Ohio to make it easier for families to adopt children, to make the incentive to carry a baby to term, get you the health care, get you the nourishing you need, and then have a welcoming family. Look, at the end of the day, I am pro-life. All life is precious. All life should be treated equally. And when we don't treat life equally, we gotta focus on what we're really trying to accomplish here, and that is, we don't want abortion to occur at all. So we make sure we treat all lives equally.
Senator Rowley, this question is for you. This came from the audience. It said, you worked with Democrats to introduce a bill designating 25 million taxpayer dollars to electrical vehicle industry. The bill also adds a rider fee to all ratepayer bills to place electrical vehicle charging stations throughout Ohio. Are you going to continue pushing for electric vehicles in Ohio if you become a congressman, even when it causes all Ohioans to foot the bill? Or is this a misrepresentation of the bill that you introduced?
Well, it's a fair question, and I think it has a very logical answer. So when I first got into office, one of the biggest things that happened, imagine winning an office seat in the Ohio Senate that was never represented by a Republican in Ohio history. Coming from Youngstown, you have that grit, you have to make it happen. The very first thing that happened was Lordstown closed the GM plant. The largest building on the hemisphere of 7 million square feet just closed, 5,000 jobs lost immediate, there was no hope, gloom and doom. Life is so short. God is so magical. We don't want gloom and doom. We wanted a chance for hope and prosperity. So what we did is we pivoted into a company that Mary Barr, the president of GM, agreed to do a low lease to, which was Lordstown Motors. Now Lordstown Motors ended up belly up, so then we pivoted into Foxconn. So what happened with that? $1 billion production and Foxconn Motors right there. And then we had the Ultium plant, which is a battery plant that built $2.5 billion of construction, about 3,000 jobs. So that bill was cradled basically to have jobs come here, because that's the only reason you hired me. You didn't hire me for the fancy fare and the pictures and all that stuff. You hired me to bring jobs. There's no other reason why I would be in office. So that was the genesis behind that. Now that we look, as time goes by, we see that the electric revolution has sort of fallen on its face. There's so many different problems with EV. I know the situation well. The battery packs are prehistoric. The battery packs are too heavy. The electric vehicles can't charge in the winter. So we see as time goes by that you learn from mistakes of the past. So I am pivoting away from electric vehicles. I drive a Hemi, I have a Dodge Rebel, I'm proud of that. But at the time, the only concept was jobs.
Senator Early, while you're up.
Wow. I get all the questions tonight. Let's do it.
Well, I guess that shows the keen interest in your candidacy.
Yeah.
And this will be a question for, also to you, Senator Dolan, too, to follow up on. Tomorrow is going to be a vote to override the governor's veto. Can you explain the legislation? I believe you authored it and he supported it.
So the legislation that I supported with it was Christina Rogner. Christina Rogner, along with Matt Dolan, we worked very, very hard in the Senate to keep men out of women's sports. It's Senate Bill 132. We're very proud of that. Christina Rogner is actually the mastermind behind the Heartbeat Bill, which I completely supported too. The Ohio House did a lot of work on their own, and they created a bill called HB 68. HB 68 basically means no surgical mutilation, no weird stuff with our kids. We have to protect our kids. We have to keep trans out of the kid's life. We have to let a kid be a kid. So the House gracefully passed House Bill 68. It comes over to the Senate, and President Huffman did an amazing thing. He said, we have such a good bill in the House, such a good bill in the Senate, SB 132, which I'm a sponsor of. We put those two together, and we had an incredible bill. Well, once in a while, you see something magical happen in the Ohio State House. You saw the two chambers that normally don't agree on anything come together. It doesn't matter what your situation was, because the Republican Party has a lot of different flavors, and we passed an amazing bill on steroids. HB 68, Senate Bill 132, which I was a sponsor, comes together, goes through the Ohio House. Now it will go through the Ohio Senate, which I believe a 26 of a 33 vote. Everyone in our caucus is voting for it. The House is going to accept it. We're going to override Governor DeWine because he's absolutely wrong and he's afraid to protect children.
So you will be voting to override his.
We're voting to override.
Senator Dolan?
Yeah, so as I said, we're going to override tomorrow afternoon. And again, it saves women's sports. And let me just tell you a little bit about the process here and why it's so important in this election. So you do your due diligence. So I talked to a lot of the medical community. Here's two things they said. Well, we don't do surgeries in Ohio. Okay, then what's the big deal if we say we ban it? The other thing they said is, you know, if a student, if a person's on these puberty blockers and you take them off, they're going to suffer severe physical and mental challenges. And I said, well, okay. But if that's the case when they come off of these drugs, why in the world would we put them on in the first place? So that's what we're going to accomplish tomorrow. We're going to protect children. I'm not sure what the motivation of Governor DeWine was on this bill. But this is what it means in November of 2024, is that this race has to be about beating Sherrod Brown. And I'm the one that has a pro-life record that can beat Sherrod Brown. I'm the one that's going to be able to say Sherrod Brown is the extremist in this state. Sherrod Brown goes to Washington and fights for nothing that we believe in. He wants to give. He's voted 3 times in the last 4 years to deny border security the legal authority to do their job. He has voted for late-term abortion. He has voted to make D.C. a state. He has voted to pack the Supreme Court. These are the extreme positions that we need to be able to take to the Ohio folks and say, we can beat Sherrod Brown with this. Because look, we're going to pretty much agree on a lot of things tonight. But this state is made up of more independent voters than Republicans or Democrats combined. I have a conservative record of achievement that Ohioans will see helps them every day. I will be able to paint Sherrod Brown as the extremist who goes to Washington and turns his back on Ohio.
I'd like to change the pace and go to a candidate for the State Central Committee, Roberta Baker. You, in your remarks, talked about how a strong enthusiast you are, a firearm enthusiast, pro-life, Second Amendment, and you sounded like a pretty strong-willed person, really, to fight for things. Now, a state central committee woman, you're going to be involved in policy.
Yes.
But when the policy all gets put together, there's going to be a common message of Republicans standing together. Are you going to be able to go out and spread that message when maybe it wasn't the exact policy that you envisioned it should be?
Yes, I do believe in compromise, and I am able to work with others, and I've had to do that in my business for a number of years. I think there are some things, though, in the party that, and I think most Ohioans agree, that we can't compromise on. And I think that just our basic liberties and medical freedom and gun rights and absolutely pro-life, those are things that I don't think that we can really negotiate on.
I have a question here, not to anyone specifically, so I will, I'll ask the candidates for Senate and for Congress to answer, because I think we've all touched on this. It's a question about the border, but I also had a question about the border. You know, it's a great national talking point, the southern border, but it's thousands of miles away from here. So why does the U.S.-Mexico border matter to the good people of Carroll County? And what's your plan to secure it?
I guess I'll go first. First of all, it's not thousands of miles away from here. It's right here because the drugs and the crime that are pouring across that border are impacting our families. 200 people a day are killed from fentanyl overdoses. We know where it's coming from. It's not a mystery. It's chemicals from China mixed together in Mexico, smuggled across the border by these criminal foreign terrorist organizations called cartels that the Democrats refuse to define as foreign terrorist organizations. Sherrod Brown said on national TV just 6 months ago, only the far right cares about the border. Well, Senator, you're dead wrong. Ohio's a border state. All states, we're literally a border state. The border of Canada is less than 100 miles to our north, but we're a border state in the sense that what happens on the U.S.-Mexican border absolutely impacts us. My plan is clear. Deploy 3 divisions to the border now. It's not a radical idea. I told you I served on the border in uniform as part of a military counter-narcotics task force. We can do that and stop the bleeding. Then we complete the wall, all the way from the Gulf of Mexico to the Pacific Ocean. A wall's good. It's not enough. If you build a 30-foot wall, people buy 35-foot ladders, right? So you got to have men and women there with guns to guard it as well. That means supporting our border patrol, defining the cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, and then taking away the incentive for people to come here. To be clear, if you break into our country, you should be deported because a law that's not enforced is not a law, it's a suggestion. So we should deport those that come here illegally. The Biden administration admitted that over 1,000 people just during his administration from the terrorist watch list have come into this country. Let me tell you, the 1,000 people on the terrorist watch list are not here looking for work. They're here looking for jihad, and they need to be sent back. We need to say no amnesty. That means no citizenship, no government benefits, no birthright citizenship, no access to the asylum process if you come into this country illegally. There is nobody in this race for U.S. Senate who will be stronger on the border than I am because, again, I've served down there. I saw firsthand exactly what's going on, and we're going to do something about it as soon as I'm serving in the United States Senate.
Okay, whoever would like to follow up.
So can you repeat the question?
Okay, so why does the U.S.-Mexico border, why do the issues at the border matter to the people of Carroll County? And what is your plan to secure the border?
They matter to the people of Carroll County, and they matter to every U.S. citizen. When people come across the border illegally, it costs this country money. It costs jobs. It affects Carroll County just like it affects California and it affects New York. We've got to stop illegals from coming across the border. We've got to stop the drugs from coming across the border. It's killing our kids. You know, Secretary of State Frank LaRose had a lot of good remarks, and I agree with everything he said. And I could regurgitate all of it because I agree with everything. What I will tell you is I have the best limited government voting record in the Ohio General Assembly. Out of 132 members, I'm number 1. And I will take that limited government voting record with me to Washington, and that's how I'm going to vote in Washington. How I vote in Ohio, who I am in Ohio, is what I'm going to do in Washington. You can take that to the bank. So again, I can regurgitate everything Frank just said. and I'm sure you're going to hear that again, but my voting record speaks for itself, and I'm going to do exactly what I do in Ohio and Washington, D.C. Thank you.
I don't know you, but that was awesome.
Thank
you. So if you want to stop animals and deer coming from into your yard, you stop throwing corn out there. So we all know, we know this. There are illegals taking our jobs, and there are people breaking rules hiring these people. I met with the unions in Youngstown a couple weeks ago, and one of their big concerns is all the illegals taking our jobs, okay? So I propose, I'm gonna hire a task force, and I'm not messing around. We're not gonna turn a blind eye to all these places hiring illegals, and I'm gonna work to get them out, okay? I'm not racist, I love everybody, but when you come to our country, you're gonna come the right way, like my father did. So also, with the illegals, my college roommate has been an emergency room for 30 years, he's been an emergency room physician for 30 years. Our healthcare system is burdened. These people are not paying taxes. They're claiming 1099s and they're getting away with it as independent contractors. They're not paying into the system. They're not paying into your Social Security, and they're just taking good jobs. So I'm gonna hire a task force, and we're gonna find these places. And I know where they are already, and a lot of you may already know. And I am not messing around. And that's it. And I'm just adding to what he said.
So the first part of your question is, how does this affect Carroll County?
Yep.
Well, there's the sheriff in the background here. I guarantee you tonight, his sheriff's deputies are out there, and they're gonna confront somebody tonight or tomorrow or the next day who is addicted to drugs. And they're addicted to drugs because they didn't want to be addicted to drugs, but because fentanyl that came over the border got mixed into something else that they took, and it took them on the slippery slope to the point where 70,000 Americans died. If 70,000 Americans died by a bomb, what would we do? We'd go after whoever sent that bomb. Now, I've been very clear in my entire campaign. We have got to secure the border. We have a patient that's bleeding out on the table, and everybody wants to talk about reconstructive surgery. We've been here before as Republicans. This border is not a new issue. We had Donald Trump who put the plan together that Frank just outlined. That's not new. That's Donald Trump's plan. The difference was we didn't have Republicans with the skill set that I have, with the ability to execute and actually get it done. Put it into law so that border is sealed and secured. And then I'm going to push the administration to go to Mexico City, talk to the Mexican government and say, look, we provide a lot of aid to you guys. We have pretty good trade agreements with you guys. Do you want that to remain? Then join us and defeat the cartels. This is something that we've got to do together. We have got to stop folks coming into this country, walls, technology, border patrol, stop any government benefits so they know there's no more free ride when you come to America. These are the things that we've got to continue to do, but it all comes down to execution, guys. It all comes down to execution. I ask you, look at my record. I have been a consistent conservative. When I say something, I do it, and I stay true to it.
Well, I touched on the border a little bit in a previous answer, but I'm going to elaborate. I think every single person said amazing things about the border, and I don't think any of you guys are off spot. But I do think Remain in Mexico was a philosophy that was developed by Trump. And I think we have to acknowledge Donald Trump for being the #1 president ever to close the borders. As soon as he left office, Biden opened them up wide open. They did that so they could infiltrate our voting ranks and totally make the Republican Party obsolete. Donald Trump has to win this election or the country will be over. If we do not shut this border down immediately, the Republic is dead. Remain in Mexico. Somebody said we have to lean on Mexico City and the Mexican government to get this done. Also, if we can, with the administration, I think we need to triple our special forces, whether it's Recon, Delta, Navy SEALs. We need to triple the amount of special forces we have in the United States of America. We need to quadruple their pay. And we need to surgically go over the border and kill every single cartel member till there's not one left. Just like they're doing in Gaza right now, we need to get in there and we need to kill every single cartel member. That will take care of it.
Okay, our lady's running for Court of Appeals who sat here patiently. So, Caitlin, could you tell us, you were talking about youth and getting them in the courts. You're one of that next generation. Tell us how your experiences prepared you for a seat on the bench.
Great, so how my experience has prepared me, I've served in nearly every level of the judicial system. So I've worked as a prosecutor, prosecuting criminals. I've worked as a magistrate, issuing protection orders, protecting women and children. I've also served as a probation officer through the Court of Common Pleas. After being elected to the bench, I'm a member of the judiciary. Every day I give sentences to criminals that they deserve. I have experience in nearly every level, which will certainly help me in the Court of Appeals. I'm a team player. I can get along. I've played sports my whole life. I know how to work together with people. I can effectively communicate and get along with my colleagues. The Court of Appeals is a 4-judge court, so there are 3 other judges there, as well as myself if I'm elected, and can get along with them and certainly take my experience and my energy and make the court better.
Tell us how your experience prepared you since you've already been there.
Okay, thank you. So prior to being elected to the court, I was back in the day what one could consider in a small legal community like Youngstown, an appellate specialist. Over my 14 years prior to going to the bench, I litigated 25 appeals between the 7th District and the 11th District. I also, something that is very rare, and that's very rare for that level for a non-governmental lawyer. Also for a non-governmental lawyer, I participated and got the Ohio Supreme Court to take 2 cases. They were business cases. Unfortunately, again, because that was the Gang of 4 days, we lost those appeals, which set back, did have some impact on business communities. So prior to the bench, I had that years of experience as an appellate litigator. Talking about some more of my experience, my job as chief legal counsel for the Auditor of State. I routinely have to construe statutes every single day without the benefit of court decisions because so few issues are litigated that we deal with day in and day out at the state auditor's office. So somebody who has strong skill set in statutory construction, saying what the law is, not what I think it should be, because all these gentlemen that have served in the General Assembly or currently serve, they're the ones you have empowered to write the law. Our role is to interpret the law. Talking about youth, my time on the bench, we have a successful program that I think should always be ramped up. We take court cases, actual cases to high schools throughout the district so students learn about their third branch of government. I was adjunct faculty for 5 semesters at Youngstown State, teaching young collegiate students about their civic education. And I wrote my own materials, drawing from the best materials ever, our founding documents. The Constitution, the Mayflower Compact, the Declaration of Independence.
Stay up. I'll try and go a question a little different to both. You both have described your experience. Very impressive from both of you. Now if you watch television, you'll see that most of the ads on television, this is soon to be political season, there's going to be a lot of them, but most of the ads are from lawyers trying to fight for you to get your rights. We have, I think, become a society where we think that we've been all wrong. Do you see what I'm saying?
Surprise, everybody. It's the dreaded chicken lady. I'm over here in Ohio. I'm with the Republican Meet the Candidates in Carroll County for District 6.
I hate to do it, but my phone is about to die and I was not prepared to live stream tonight. I don't have my tripod or anything, so I apologize for the terrible quality. But I am going to have to jump off of here because I am below 10%. So my phone is going to shut me down and I don't have a charger. But thank you for joining me tonight and getting involved and seeing what's going on over here in Ohio. I will talk at you guys later.